I walked into Dr. Martinez's office and saw my husband sitting there with perfect posture, nodding thoughtfully at everything she said. Except it wasn't my husband. Let me back up. 3 months earlier, David and I had hit rock bottom. 22 years of marriage, 2 kids, and suddenly we couldn't have a conversation without screaming. He'd come home late, claim he was working, but his stories never added up. I'd catch him texting someone, and he'd flip his phone face down like I was some stranger trying to peek at his business. When I suggested marriage counseling, he actually agreed. Shocked me completely. David had always said therapy was for weak people who couldn't handle their own problems. But there he was, nodding along, saying he wanted to save our marriage. Our first session with Dr. Martinez went better than expected. David opened up about feeling disconnected. He apologized for working so much. He held my hand and promised to do better. For the first time in months, I felt hope. Week after week, we'd sit in that beige office with the motivational posters and tissue boxes. David would share his feelings, acknowledge his mistakes, even cry once. He talked about his childhood, his fears, things he'd never told me in 2 decades together. I fell in love with this vulnerable, emotional version of my husband. At home though, nothing changed. He was still distant, still secretive, still coming home late with weak excuses. When I'd bring up what we discussed in therapy, he'd look at me blankly or change the subject. We talked about this with Dr. Martinez, I'd say. Did we? I don't really remember. These sessions blend together. I chalked it up to selective memory. Men, right? They hear what they want to hear. But something nagged at me. The David in therapy was articulate, emotionally intelligent, empathetic. The David at home was the same cold, dismissive man I'd been living with. It was like he had a personality transplant every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Then came the session that shattered everything. I was running late because of traffic. Burst through Dr. Martinez's door 15 minutes behind schedule, apologizing profusely. And there was David, mid-sentence, talking about how grateful he was for my patience during his emotional growth. Except David was supposed to be in Chicago. His company had sent him there for a 3-day conference. I dropped him at the airport that morning. The man sitting in my husband's usual spot looked exactly like David. Same height, same build, same receding hairline. But his eyes were different. Kinder. And he was wearing a shirt I'd never seen before. David? I whispered. He turned, and for just a split second, I saw panic flash across his face. Then that familiar therapeutic smile returned. Sorry I'm late, honey. Flight got cancelled, so I drove back for our session. Didn't want to miss it. Dr. Martinez looked confused. But David, didn't you just tell me you've been looking forward to this all week? Yes, of course. Like I said, drove straight here. I sat down slowly, my mind racing. Something was very, very wrong. The session continued, but I barely heard a word. I kept staring at this man who looked like my husband but felt like a stranger. His mannerisms were similar but not identical. He gestured with his left hand when David was right-handed. He said absolutely instead of David's usual definitely. After the session, I followed him to the parking lot. Where's your car? I asked. Oh, I Ubered. Didn't want to deal with parking downtown. David hated Uber. Always complained about strangers in his car. I went home and called David's hotel in Chicago. He answered on the second ring. Hey babe, how was therapy? My blood turned to ice water. It was interesting. How's the conference? Boring as hell. Missing you though. Can't wait to get home tomorrow. I hung up and sat in my kitchen, shaking. My husband had hired someone to impersonate him in marriage counseling. For months, I'd been pouring my heart out to a complete stranger while my real husband was off doing God knows what. The betrayal cut deeper than any affair could have. He'd weaponized my hope. Made me fall in love with a version of him that didn't exist. Every breakthrough, every emotional moment, every tear I'd shed believing we were healing together, it was all a lie. I spiraled hard. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I'd married a sociopath. What kind of person does this? What kind of person pays someone to fake their way through marriage counseling while their wife believes she's saving their relationship? But then the rage kicked in. And rage, I discovered, is much more useful than heartbreak. I hired a private investigator. Turns out, David had been having an affair for 8 months with his secretary, Jessica. Classic. The Tuesday therapy sessions weren't the only times he'd used his double. The guy had been covering for David's date nights, work events David wanted to skip, even a parent-teacher conference. His name was Marcus. He was an actor, struggling to make ends meet in community theater. David paid him $300 per session to study David's mannerisms, speech patterns, and personal history. Marcus had been practicing being my husband like it was a role in a play. I could have confronted David directly. Could have screamed and thrown his clothes on the lawn like a cliché-round wife. But I wanted him to feel the same betrayal, the same confusion, the same sickening realization that nothing was real. So I hired Marcus myself. I told him everything, about Jessica, about the lies, about how David had humiliated me. Marcus was horrified. He thought he was helping a man who had social anxiety about therapy. He had no idea David was cheating. Together, we planned the perfect revenge. At our next session, Marcus showed up as David again. But this time, he confessed everything. Told Dr. Martinez about the affair, about hiring someone to attend counseling, about never having any intention of working on our marriage. He was detailed, remorseful, and completely convincing. Dr. Martinez was stunned. I played my part perfectly, the shocked, betrayed wife hearing this confession for the first time. David begged for forgiveness, promised to end the affair, swore he'd never lie again. And I, with tears streaming down my face, told him I needed time to think. The real David came home that night expecting his usual cold, distant wife. Instead, he found me calm and surprisingly affectionate. "How was therapy?" he asked carefully. "Actually, it was a breakthrough session. You really opened up." He looked confused but pleased. "Oh, good. What did I say?" "You confessed about Jessica." The color drained from his face. "What?" "You told Dr. Martinez everything. About the affair, about hiring Marcus to pretend to be you. You cried. You begged me to forgive you." David's mouth opened and closed like a fish. He couldn't deny it without admitting he hadn't been there. He couldn't confirm it without admitting to the affair. I don't. It's over, David. I'm filing for divorce. And thanks to your detailed confession in front of our therapist, I have everything I need. I moved out the next day. The divorce was swift and brutal for him. Adultery, fraud, emotional abuse, my lawyer had a field day. I got the house, majority custody, and half his retirement fund. Marcus quit working for David and actually got cast in a real play. We stayed in touch. Turns out he's a decent guy who got caught up in someone else's web of lies. David married Jessica 6 months after our divorce was final. I heard through mutual friends that she's already suspicious of his work trips. Funny how patterns repeat themselves. Trust is like a mirror. Once it's broken, you can tape it back together, but you'll always see the cracks. David didn't just break our marriage, he broke my ability to believe in genuine emotion, real connection, authentic love. He made me question every moment we'd shared, wondering what else had been performed rather than felt. But I learned something valuable. When someone shows you who they really are through their actions, believe them. And when someone betrays you so completely that they hire an actor to fake working on your relationship, they've shown you they're capable of anything. I'm dating now. Taking it slow, trusting my instincts, and never again accepting a partner who treats our relationship like a performance. Have you experienced something like this? Tell me in the comments.